Hello everyone and welcome back to another AFK journey video. In this video we're going to be going over the Supreme Arena defenses I'm planning to use for this week, and I am going to be trying something new. It might not work, and in which case I have some like backup defenses in the saved formations which I'll show you as well. Okay, so team, the first thing to know about this week is that there are more hidden tiles on basically two of the different maps. And you can try to use this to your advantage. However, one problem is that, as you can tell, one of the buff tile heroes is going to be off the hidden tile. And so that kind of gives away the strategy of what team you're going to be running. Because, like, for example, even if they can't see my Florabelle Damien here, they know I have Thorn, Soulpack, Taywin. It's probably going to be some sort of stall team. But there are two hidden tiles you could try to take advantage of off into the side here. Now for my team, I don't think it's a good idea. I want to have Damien grouped up with the team, because then Damien can begin healing the Haywin, Florabelle, and even the Thorin all together, which is important, especially with the wilder buff tiles, because you start the battle with that shield, but like your HP is being reduced, and so you need to heal that back up. And so Damien needs to be close to them. Tide Call spell like normal, because I think that I really like the stats it gives, mainly the HP, really high amount of HP more than any other artifact, and good amount of haste as well to get your skills casting more frequently. So that is basically my number one team, which is my overall kind of solid team. Okay, so looking at team number two, we're going to be trying the Thunderclap spell with this team. And this team is different compared to other teams I've ran in the past weeks, but I'm pretty excited for it. Now, the first thing to know is the Infinite Front Thundering Doom, which is the effect of this map too. They did a translation from the Chinese version, and what it means is actually both your ally who is frontmost as well as the enemy team who has the frontmost member from their perspective, those are both going to be receiving this damage, which is true damage equal to 20% of their maximum health, and then also 50% of their lost health, and this is going to be triggering every 5 seconds. So basically there's no way to play around and avoid this damage hitting you. So then it just comes down to, okay, I mean, technically Maulers would not considered to be good in this type of map, because they're going to be teleported into the enemy team, and then you have your carriers kind of in the front line taking this bonus damage. But I honestly think you're going to be killing things fast enough that this damage is probably not going to make a big difference, and I'm just trying to kill the opponents quickly. And that's my plan, not really worrying about the effect of this map too much. So what we have now, Thunderclap spell. We've talked about it, but it has pretty nice amount of HP, really good amount of attack percent, and also execution, which is an offensive stat. It will cause you to deal 9.8% bonus damage to enemies below 50% of their maximum health. Which, I mean, it could be a little bit better on this map, because the opponent is going to be taking this extra true damage, trying to lower them quicker. Also, Thunderclap spell, when you get a kill onto an enemy, any enemy, your whole team will be shielded by 20% of your total team's attack. The other thing is that the damage triggered from this effect from Thundercall is going to be dependent on your total team attack. So I definitely wanted to use this in team when I'm running Fresto, because both Fresto and his illusion count as a hero. So in total we have 6 heroes here instead of like a normal 5, and so all of their attack is going to be added up, and that team attack is going to be applied to the opponents. So that's why I thought Fresto makes a lot of sense with the Thunderclap spell. Also, even though we're going to be hit by the Thundering Doom effect, it will also help us, because we can like maybe kill an enemy a little bit quicker, their frontline enemy. And then that is going to give us that bonus shield when we get that kill. So, and also Vala is going to get a kill pretty quickly, or should be able to do that, and that will give us that shield from the Thunderclap spell for 5 seconds. So overall, I'm happy with this team. I think that this is going to be really good, and I hope it will do well. We weren't able to fit Rainier in the team, because if we're running Vala and we're running Fresto, then there's no room for Rainier if you want the Mauler buff tiles, which I definitely wanted. Really, in my opinion, I think the Mauler buff tiles are the strongest for Supreme Arena, even for Clash runs. Like in this season, the Mauler tiles and Mauler faction talent has been the meta PvP option. Mikola here for the On Arena, because again, we have multiple heroes who are all going to be going potentially up into melee range other than Coco, and they can control the On Arena for that attack buff. Shakir is going to be with the damage reduction of the Fresto illusion, and the energy is going to give to Coco to try and cast her ultimate a little bit faster. And also the Coco charms, if you take a look at them here, Her charms are going to give damage reduction and energy on hit for 45 seconds to ally in front of her, and that is going to be the main Feresto so that he has that damage reduction for tankiness. Now, definitely Verdant Spell would be a great artifact here. I don't know whether Thunderclap is going to be better than Verdant, but I think this is one of the best teams to try Thunderclap for the reasons we mentioned, like having the two Ferestos, like him and his Illusion, who will apply to the team's attack, and also having the Valor to get a quick kill to try and give us the shielding from that effect. So that's my plan. Hopefully, I think this team should do pretty well. And now for our final team. This is the most experimental team. You might be looking at it and being like, what are you doing? So the idea is that Odie with Resonating Spell on the Mauler buff tiles is actually a really strong hero. It's difficult because he is going to be nuking down enemies so quickly. And we also have Smokey on the buff tile because Smokey does really well with the buff tiles because then he can get positioned into an area that your whole team can get the advantage of his aura and the buff. And the Odie can get the advantage of that as well. So I definitely think like the Mauler buff tiles make Smokey much more usable in PvP, because otherwise his problem is that he ends up in a position where he can't really reach most of your team with his healing and the auras until he powers it up too much. And by that time, the match could already be decided or over. So this is what we're doing. Resonating Spell on the Odie, on the Mauler buff tile with the Smokey. Unfortunately, we can't make use of Smokey's charms. It would really be nice if we could make use of that, but it just can't happen because no hero can be positioned there. And we are using the hidden tile as well, because like, you might also be thinking, why are you running Iron here? Now, this is a thing I've seen people run in Clash runs, even Splash is running a team like this, with Iron with the Mauler buff tiles, and basically, especially in the hidden tiles, I think Iron can get his most value. The opponent will look at this team and they're only seeing an Odie on the Mauler buff tile and be thinking like, okay, this has got to be some sort of Mauler team. They will not be thinking Iron is going to be here, and Iron can get the value of the crowd control. And you can group up the enemies, allowing them all to be like grouped up for the Mauler buff tile damage of both Odie and Smokey. That's the plan. And they made for more damage because, and she's one of my best heroes. I had to fit her into one of my teams. And then Brutus here just to complete the Mauler faction talents. And you could use Entendre instead of Brutus. So I'm excited to see how this team is going to do. I have no idea. Honestly, this is kind of like an ambitious team I'm trying. Other artifact choices, yeah, and other team options here, you could definitely be running Tassi, for example. With the Mauler buff tiles, you could have her on the back with the Resonating Spell instead of the Odie, something like that. That would be fine. Other options, you can go for the Tassi Lightbearer team, like I have been running in previous runs. So I will show you those formations because I've saved them. So here is the other basically option that you can run with the Lightbearers and Vala on this team, but then on your second team you would just be running the standard team I've always been running with the Rainier in front of the Shakir and still having the Mauler buff tiles. I still think for this map maybe it makes more sense to have Coco off the Mauler buff tile because then she can provide the benefit of her charms to the Feresto, but you could also have Coco on the buff tile because she does well with the buff tile, like we mentioned in previous videos. The advantage of it is that Paddle Smash, if there are adjacent enemies, this will deal an attack and also stun them for 3 seconds, but only if they're adjacent. And so like having Coco right in the middle of the enemy team is value for that. But Mikola will also get value from being on the Mauler buff tile, and this charms are going to be benefiting the Feresto, and Feresto's Crimson Contract will benefit the Coco with the Verdant Spell. So this is like, these are the more safe teams. Like if, for example, the other teams I showed you first are not working, I'll probably switch back to these. The first team is the same, just my standard Square Leader Stroll team. So these are basically the different teams I'm going to be trying this week. And you guys can let me know what you think about these teams, and you can try different options as well. Like I think this team is kind of like a team a lot of people will be able to use, and that's why I wanted to test it, and hopefully it does well because I feel like it will. A lot of people are using Odie and Smokey both on the Mauler buff tiles for Clash runs, and I want to try it in Supreme Arena as well. Definitely Elsa is another hero you could try to put in here instead of one of these other Maulers if you wanted to. You could even, like, for example, you could do, keep the Smokey, have the Elsa here, and then put a Tassi on the back tile with the Resonating Spell. This would be a good option for a team as well. I think this would be a really strong team if you wanted to try it, but I'm going to be trying the Odie team. I have faith that the Odie team should do well. So I think this is the best chance Iron can have to actually do some good stuff in the current meta, because no one is expecting to have the Iron here in a Mauler buff tile team. And if you can group up the enemies for the area of effect damage from the Mauler buff tile, prime carriers, that is going to be really strong for us. And of course, the immobilization is valuable. So now what we're going to do, we're going to take a look at the faction talents that I have, because now what I'm doing is I'm really trying to prioritize my Mauler tree. Since now I'm running 2 different Mauler teams for Supreme Arena, I want to try to max it out, because I think this Mauler tree is really strong. If you just want to go for stage 3 upgrades, that's fine. Most important, you need to get this final node unlocked for stage 3. This is the most important for PvP, making the prime carrier immune to the first fatal blow they take and become unaffected. This is why Mauler buff tiles, one of the reasons they're so strong. But then the other thing is that damage to all adjacent enemies every 5 seconds, and like we're trying to group up enemies with Iron and then hit them with this. Even if you don't have Iron in there, for example, it still is going to get a lot of value, because you're going to be teleported into the enemy team where there are the most adjacent enemies. And then for further upgrades, I went for the left tree side first because I like the shielding amount, and then also the energy on hit to charge up your ultimate faster. But really, you can even stop at stage 3. I stopped here for a long time until now. I've just recently had enough talent essences. I reset my tree to remove things from the Graveborn faction, because I'm not running any Graveborn teams even in Clash runs. I'm like, okay, let's just use what we saved from the Graveborn to upgrade the Mauler faction talent. Now the final node here, I don't think this is a big priority. This is really expensive, costs 80 talent essences, and it only gives you 0.3% of your stats: HP, attack, physical, and magical defense. And you can upgrade it 10 times, but it's gonna get more and more expensive as you upgrade it. So I'm gonna be leaving this, like, I will probably get this extra life drain because might as well get it. I don't think it's a big upgrade, but then I'll just move on to a different tree like Wilders, because right now in Clash fronts and also in Supreme Arena, I'm mainly only using Wilders, Maulers, and Lightbearers. And for Lightbearers, I do not think the final node is important for stage 3, because this will only trigger when your prime carrier is defeated, and it will only trigger 1 time. I don't think that is game changing enough to like turn the tides of a match. And even this additional energy on an assist or defeat is kind of like a win more skill upgrade, in my opinion. If you're already getting an assist or defeat, your team should be winning from that point, in my opinion. Like if I have Vala, Tassi, who are already in the team, and they get an assist or kill or a defeat, that is enough for them to then snowball and win the match without this upgrade. So, but all the other things are really important, the skill upgrades as well as the stats, and that's what we've done. So anyway guys, hopefully this was helpful. Good luck this week in Supreme Arena. I'll update you if there are any changes to my defenses, or depending on how well they're doing. But thank you guys for watching. I'll hopefully see you in the next video, and until then, everyone, peace out for now.